What's up, guys? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, make sure you follow us all over social media so you don't miss any of our content or show announcements. Tyrese Haliburton. I talked about before the series, one of the major storylines is like, what if Oklahoma City just like kind of embarrasses him? Now, Tyrese has had some really nice games in the series. I thought he was great in game 3. Obviously, hits a game winner at the end of game 1. He's had his moments. I would argue Tyrese has not been embarrassed in this series. But outside of those moments, it's been pretty rough. I saw a tweet from a buddy of mine, Jamal Christopher. Shout out Jamal. Does good work covering the Clippers. Big Clippers fan. And I'm reading this tweet because I think it is an important kind of like bit of context to what happened last night. To me, in my opinion, it's pretty disingenuous to act like Haliburton isn't capable of some dangerous lows, even when he's at 100%. And that was my big takeaway from last night. I agree with Jamal completely. Yeah, Tyrese Haliburton was a little banged up. You could see that really awkward step that he took where his foot kind of slipped out from underneath him. We know he's been dealing with some sort of ankle, Achilles, something in his right foot. Clearly he tweaked it a little bit more last night on that move. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Tyrese wasn't a little banged up. But again, I agree with Jamal. I think Tyrese is just as capable of that type of game even when he's at his best. And we've talked about it before. It's the reason why he's not a top tier superstar. In order to get up into that, 5-6 range, he's got to become substantially more reliable as a scorer. To me, this kind of just is the reality of what can happen with Tyrese. If he runs into a really good defense with a really good defensive guard that can beat him over the top of screens and a big that can guard him in switches, it's going to render him borderline ineffective as a scorer. And we saw an exaggerated version of it last night because of the issues that were going on with his calf muscle. But I agree. I think just writing off Tyrese's game last night as like, oh, he was hurt, that's the only reason that happened. I agree with Jamal. I think that's disingenuous. I think there's so many examples over the years, over the last couple of years, to where Tyrese can have some, to quote Jamal, dangerous lows in these sorts of situations, lows that can be difficult to overcome. And thankfully, the Pacers got a ton out of Pascal Siakam last night, or it could have gotten particularly ugly. But Tyrese ultimately wasn't good enough in this series in order to give his team a better chance to win. The NBA Finals are here. This is your last chance to bet on the NBA until next season. And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is pulling out all the stops to make this a finals to remember. One team will be crowned champ, and the other will be lost to history. Who you got winning it all? Put your hoops expertise to the test. All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Who's going to carry their team to the chip? Try placing a bet on your personal MVP to drop 30, 40, or maybe even over 50. Ready to place your own bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, lock in your bets, and finish the season as a winner. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Don't miss your last chance to bet on the NBA this season. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code HOOPS. That's HOOPS. That's code HOOPS for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Myles Turner's offense. I talked about it before the series as he was the biggest swing factor for Indiana. He was going to need to be able to hit the open threes. He was just 4 for 19 through the first 5 games of this series on catch and shoot jump shots. Just not good enough. He wasn't good in his ball screen coverages. We're about to talk about it in a minute, but I want to cut him some slack on that because I blame Rick Carlisle more than I blame him. But on the offensive end, that was where he needed to be better. If he goes, 8 for 19 on those catch and shoot jump shots, it might have been the difference in this series, potentially. That was a missed opportunity. The ball screen coverages. I've been bitching about this the entire series. The specific thing I've been complaining about is on especially extended ball screens. It's one thing in the half court in a situation where Shea doesn't have a head of steam, where he's standing, 24 feet from the basket on the left wing, and here comes a ball screen, and he comes off the ball screen, and Turner's at the level. That's one thing where Turner has a fighting chance to keep Shea in front because Shea doesn't have a head of steam. I would have been more okay with that coverage. But in these extended ball pressure screens where Hartenstein and Chet are screening for Shea, sometimes beyond half court, 60 feet from the rim, sometimes in front of half court, 40, 35 feet from the rim, for Turner to be up that high, for Tony Bradley to be up that high on a ball screen is foolish. And they were giving up dribble penetration where Shea or J-Dub was getting past Turner or getting past Bradley so far out from the basket that they're just parading down the lane for layups, fouls, easy kickouts, while Turner and Bradley are jogging in from behind the play. And it's stupid because Myles Turner's best attribute on defense is his length. That has value at the rim. It is a non-factor out that far from the basket. You know what is a factor that far from the basket? His slow foot speed, which was consistently exploited. If he's out underneath the basket, it's a much more achievable defensive job for Myles Turner to do. And guys, I don't think we've seen this again. We saw this with Minnesota too, a more exaggerated version of it. This extended pressure against Oklahoma City hasn't worked. Guys, guess who has been the most efficient defense against Oklahoma City in these playoffs? Guess which team has done the best job guarding the Thunder? The Denver Nuggets. They've logged a 113.8 defensive rating against the Thunder in 7 games. And what did they do? They sagged back. They gapped. They ran a ton of zone. They forced Oklahoma City to beat them by processing and by hitting jump shots, not by allowing them to get easy dribble penetration over and over again with a foolishly overextended defense. And again, I wasn't even necessarily against the ball pressure. I understood some of the fatigue advantages there. I just did not understand Rick Carlisle's approach bringing his bigs out that far for the entire series. I thought that was a mistake. The pathway is there for the Pacers. It's not over by any stretch of the imagination. It's just so narrow. And then even if they end up in a situation where like they win game 6 and they have a tie game with 4 minutes left in game 7, I just don't think they've established anything that is reliable to score against Oklahoma City's defense. And it just seems like such a narrow pathway for me at this point.